The ship floated in the empty darkness of space. It was old, broken, and forgotten. Its metal walls covered in rust. Its engines silent for more than 2,000 years. The galaxy had moved on. Stars had lived and died. Civilizations had risen and fallen. But this ship stayed here, drifting without a voice. Inside its corridors only dust and silence remained, but deep within its core, a chamber still breathed faint life. The hum of dying machines whispered like ghosts, keeping something. Inside, Daniel, a lone human explorer, was not supposed to be here. His small craft was made for scavenging old wrecks, searching for tech, parts, and maybe treasure. He followed strange signals across the void, a weak pulse that should not have existed after so long. His scanners showed a massive derelict alien in design, its hull twisted and scarred by time. Curiosity pulled him in. Most scavengers would pass it, but Daniel felt there was something hidden, something worth the risk. His ship docked against the rusted giant. The sound of metal locking against metal echoed like a final breath. He wore his suit, checked his tools, and stepped inside. The airlock hissed, and the smell of age and decay filled his helmet filters. The corridors stretched before him like the veins of a dead creature. The lights flickered weakly, powered by failing energy cells. The walls were covered with strange alien markings, unreadable yet filled with meaning. Daniel moved carefully, each step echoing through the hollow ship. His flashlight cut through the dust, showing frozen webs of rust, broken panels, and shattered glass. His heart pounded as he went deeper. Something about the silence felt alive, as if the ship watched him, whispering secrets in a language he could not hear. He reached a sealed door, thicker than the others, reinforced by alien tech. Strange symbols glowed faintly across its surface. His scanner beeped, detecting a weak energy source inside. Daniel frowned. 2,000 years should have killed every battery, but still this door breathed. He placed his hand on it. The surface was cold and rough. His tools sparked as he tried. To cut through, the metal resisted as if it did not want to open. Minutes turned to hours. Sparks flew, sweat ran down his back. Finally, with a deep groan, the door cracked open. Air rushed out, stale and heavy. Daniel stepped inside with slow caution. His flashlight revealed a small chamber, and in the middle stood a strange bed, or maybe a coffin, surrounded by broken machines that still tried to work. The sound of their weak hum filled the room, and there she was, the alien girl, or what was left of her. Her body was frail, her skin almost gone, bones showing through, bound in strange alien bindings. She looked like a ruined statue, her face half hidden, yet there was a softness still visible. Daniel froze, his chest tight. He had seen bodies. Before, Rex always carried the dead, but this was different. This was not just a corpse. The machines pulsed faint light into her, as if refusing to let her go. Daniel stepped closer, his boots heavy against the metal floor. His light brushed over her broken form, and for a moment he thought he saw her chest rise only once. Maybe it was his imagination. Maybe it was real. The air around her shimmered faintly. He crouched near the strange bed, studying the machines. Their design was older than anything he had seen, older than human history in space, but they still fought to keep her here. His mind raced. Why would anyone be left here, trapped in a rusted ship for 2,000 years? Was it punishment? Accident? Betrayal? He did not know, but he felt it. The sadness of this place. The sorrow in the silence. Daniel reached out and touched the machine gently, and for a second the lights grew brighter. His heart skipped a beat. He pulled his hand back, but the hum followed him, as if the ship had recognized him. He turned back to the body. Her face caught his eyes again. Even in ruin there was beauty, a story buried in bones and shadows. He whispered without thinking, "What happened to you?" His voice cracked in the empty chamber, and for a heartbeat he thought he saw her eyes flicker with the faintest glow. Just a spark, gone as quickly as it came. Daniel felt a chill crawl down his spine, but also a strange pull. Something deep inside told him this was not the end. This was the beginning. He looked at her again, and the silence of 2,000 years pressed down on him, heavier than any grave. He did not know why he had come here, why he had opened this tomb, but he knew one thing. He could not walk away, not now, not after seeing her trapped between death and life, alone for centuries, forgotten by all. His breath echoed in his helmet as he whispered again, "You are not alone anymore." And in the silence, the machines gave a faint pulse, like a heartbeat waiting to return. The rusted ship floated on in the endless dark, but for the first time in 2,000 years, something had changed. A human had opened the hatch and the tomb was no longer silent. Something inside had awakened, waiting for what came next. Daniel stood frozen inside the chamber, his flashlight trembling in his grip. The alien girl's ruined body lay before him, bound by strange restraints, machines humming like dying bees around her. His mind screamed at him to leave, to seal the door and forget he ever stepped inside. But his heart kept him there, drawn by something more powerful than fear. The machines fascinated him, their design alien yet strangely delicate. Tubes and wires wrapped around her fragile frame. Tiny sparks flickered like fireflies. Daniel bent closer, scanning the devices. His tools read faint energy signals, still alive after 2,000 years. Impossible. And yet here they were, fighting against time, keeping something from slipping away. His breath echoed in his helmet, the glass fogging slightly. He reached out and brushed dust from one of the glowing panels. The symbols carved into it shifted faintly, as if reacting to his touch. The hum grew louder for a moment, and then fell back to its weak rhythm. Daniel pulled his hand away quickly, but his eyes remained fixed on the alien girl. She was not just bones and scraps of flesh. There was something in her presence that felt heavy, ancient, her form broken but her essence still chained to this place. Daniel whispered under his breath, "What are you?" His words vanished into the silence, yet he swore the air itself seemed to listen. The chamber smelled of iron and something older, something unnatural. His light caught marks on the floor, like scratches from desperate hands trying to escape. His chest tightened. Had she tried to fight? Had she screamed while no one heard? His imagination painted the picture of her last living moments. Trapped, abandoned, waiting for someone who never came. Daniel shook the thought from his head. He forced himself to focus on the machines. His fingers traced the lines of their broken circuits, pieces melted by time, still clinging to purpose. He activated his wrist device, translating signals. The data made no sense. Fragments of alien code flickering across his visor, but one message repeated again and again, weak but clear. Containment stable. Vital link maintained. He frowned, his heart racing. Containment of what? Vital link to where? He turned his gaze back to her. The answer felt obvious. These machines were not keeping her alive in a normal way. They were clinging to something deeper. Perhaps her mind, perhaps her very soul. Daniel swallowed hard. The thought chilled him and fascinated him at once. He leaned closer to her face, her hollow cheeks, her lips cracked and pale, her bones sharp beneath fragile skin. And then, her eyelids twitched. Just once, small but real. Daniel gasped, stumbling backward, his light shaking across the walls. No sound followed, no movement, only the hum of machines, but he knew what he saw. Her body was still reacting, still waiting. The silence pressed on him, heavier now, like a weight on his shoulders. Daniel clenched his fists, his breath sharp. Every instinct told him to leave. Yet he stepped, closer again, unable to fight the pull. He placed his hand gently on the side of the strange bed. The surface was ice cold. The glow from the machines pulsed slowly beneath his palm. And then a sound, faint as a whisper of wind. A voice, broken and cracked, carried through the chamber. It was not clear, it was not full, but it was enough to freeze his blood. It came from her, from lips that should not move. "Don't leave." Daniel staggered back, his body trembling, the words replayed in his mind. They were weak like a shadow of speech, but they were there. She had spoken. After 2,000 years sealed away, her first words were a plea. The human stood in silence, staring at the figure before him, fear and pity battling inside his chest. The ship creaked around him, metal groaning as if remembering its own death. Daniel whispered in return, not even sure why. I'm still here, the machines answered. With a flicker of brighter light, the hum deepened for a moment like a heartbeat waking from long sleep. The air in the chamber grew heavier, colder. Daniel could no longer deny it. This was no tomb. This was a prison that still held its prisoner alive. He took one long breath. His mind sharp now. He knew what came next. He could not leave her here, not after hearing her voice, not after seeing the faint flicker of life. His mission had changed. He was no longer a scavenger. He was part of something far greater. Daniel tightened his grip on his tools, his eyes locked on the alien girl, and whispered again, "I will find a way." And deep inside the rusted ship, the ancient machine stirred as if agreeing, as if waiting for this moment for 2,000 years. Daniel did not sleep that night. He sat inside his small camp within the alien ship, surrounded by the hum of old machines. His eyes kept returning to the sealed chamber, to the fragile form of the alien girl who had whispered to him. The sound of her broken words echoed in his head again and again. "Don't leave." And every time he heard it in his memory, his chest tightened. He had seen wrecks before, had seen the dead frozen in silence, but never this. Never a being held between life and death for 2,000 years. The machines around her were failing. Sparks flickered in the dark like dying stars, and yet somehow they had kept her here. Not alive, not dead, but waiting. Daniel knew he could not turn away. He had already been chosen by this ship. By this moment, he crouched beside the strange alien bed again, studying every detail. His scanner read unstable energy spikes, signals jumping in wild patterns. But through the chaos, something constant, pulsed like a rhythm, like a heartbeat buried deep within the machine. Daniel's hands shook as he connected his portable power cell, forcing human energy into alien circuits. The ship groaned in protest. Lights dimmed and flared. Dust fell from the ceiling. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the girl's chest rose faintly, one shallow breath that made Daniel freeze in shock. Her cracked lips parted, her voice weak, almost broken, but clearer than before. "Who are you?" Daniel's throat felt dry. He had no words ready. He leaned closer, his helmet almost touching the bed. "I'm Daniel. I found your ship." His voice cracked. He sounded small against the weight of 2,000 years. Her eyelids twitched, a faint glow shining. Beneath them, her voice came again, trembling, fragile like glass ready to shatter. "So long, so dark, alone." The words stabbed into him. He could feel the endless time she had endured, the loneliness, the pain. Daniel whispered, "You're not alone anymore." His hands touched the alien panel again, and the glow around her body grew brighter. Weak pulses of light ran through the wires. Her bones shone faintly beneath her skin, and her face, ruined by time, seemed to soften just for a moment. Her eyes opened only halfway, but enough for Daniel to see them. Twin orbs glowing faint silver, staring at him, not with fear but with a desperate hunger for life. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he could hear it echoing in his ears. The ship responded too. The walls hummed, ancient systems awakening as if her awareness pulled them back. The entire chamber felt alive now, alive and watching. Daniel's visor filled with unreadable alien code, messages flashing too fast to catch, and then one word in his own language appeared on the screen. Link. He felt the chill crawl through him. Link to what? To her. To the ship. His hand trembled over the panel, but before he could pull away, her voice came again, stronger this time, though still broken. "Help me?" Daniel clenched his jaw, his fear battled with his determination. He was one man in a dying alien tomb, but in front of him was a soul that refused to surrender. 2,000 years, and she was still fighting to be heard. How could he turn? Away now. He nodded slowly, his words steady. "I'll help you." The machines roared in response, the hum rising like thunder, sparks lighting the room, and the alien girl's glowing eyes locked onto his with fierce intensity. She was awake, not whole, not safe, but awake. And for the first time in 2,000 years, she was not alone. Daniel did not know what he had unleashed, but he knew this. His life had just changed forever, and the galaxy would never be the same. The chamber no longer felt like a tomb. It felt like a doorway. Daniel stood in the dim glow of alien machines, his visor showing fragments of strange symbols flashing across his screen. The girl's silver eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, her ruined body unmoving, yet her presence filled the room with weight heavier than iron. Then it happened. The walls around him flickered. The rusted metal seemed to peel away like smoke. Daniel gasped. His flashlight shook in his hand. The chamber melted into a vision. He no longer stood inside a dead ship. He stood in a shining hall, tall spires rising above him, and everywhere there was light and music. He turned, and there she was. Not broken, not ruined, but whole, her, skin glowing faintly, her body strong, her eyes filled with life. She was dressed in silver robes that shimmered like starlight. She walked through the hall surrounded by beings of her kind, tall, elegant, proud. The vision struck Daniel with awe. He almost forgot to breathe. Her voice came, not from her lips, but from the very air around him. This was my home. Daniel turned. Her eyes were sad even in their beauty. She touched the glowing walls and the vision shifted again. The hall cracked. Flames roared. Shadows moved through the streets. Screams filled the air. Daniel raised his hands, but the fire did not burn him. He saw soldiers, alien like her, armored and merciless, dragging her through the ruins, binding her arms, forcing her toward the very ship where she had been trapped. He felt her fear, her betrayal, her desperate struggle, and the last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was the sealed chamber door closing, the faces of her own people turning away, the vision shattered. Daniel fell to his knees. The rusted chamber returned, his hands shaking, sweat dripping down his face. The girl's voice reached him again, weak but sharp. They left me. To die, forgotten. Her glowing eyes locked onto him, shimmering with pain older than human history. Daniel swallowed hard, his throat tight. Why would they do this? He asked, his voice low. Her reply was faint. Because I was different, because I questioned them. The words cut like a knife. A civilization that had once seemed perfect had destroyed its own child. Daniel clenched his fists, fury rising inside him. She continued, her voice flickering like a candle. I dreamed of peace. They dreamed of power. So they silenced me. Her head turned slightly, her silver eyes catching his. For 2,000 years, I dreamed in the dark, waiting for a hand to open the hatch. Daniel's chest ached, his breath heavy. He realized, now she was no ordinary alien. She was a daughter of a great people, maybe even royalty. And they had erased her, locked her away in this rusted coffin, but she had endured, he whispered. I will not leave you like they did. His voice was steady now, sharper than before. The machines pulsed brighter. As if, responding to his vow, the glow filled the chamber, and for a moment Daniel felt her mind brush against his, soft but powerful, a ghost touching his soul. She whispered into his thoughts, Then I am not a ghost anymore. Daniel stood slowly, his heart hammering. The weight of her story burned inside him. He was no longer just an explorer in a dead ship. He was a witness to injustice older than his species, and he had made a promise he could not break. The girl's ruined body remained still, but her mind was alive now, alive and reaching for him, and Daniel knew the past had only begun to reveal its secrets. The true battle was not just to awaken her, but to face what would come once others learned she still existed. The ship groaned around them, the sound deep and long, as if the walls themselves remembered the betrayal. Daniel tightened his grip on his tools, his eyes locked on her glowing gaze, and whispered, We will bring you back. And for the first time, her voice carried not only sorrow but hope. Then I will see the stars again. Daniel worked for hours, his hands shaking from exhaustion, his visor fogging with every heavy breath. The alien machines around him sparked and hissed as he tried to bridge them with his own portable AI. The devices were not meant for human touch. Their language was jagged, their energy unstable. But he pushed forward, every failure only hardening his resolve. The girl's ruined body lay still, but her presence filled the chamber like a storm. Waiting to break, her glowing eyes flickered whenever the machine surged, faint whispers of her voice brushing against Daniel's thoughts. "Do not stop, please." Her plea echoed in his head, a fragile chain holding him to his task. His AI protested, warning him of overload, his wrist display flashing red. System error. Unknown corruption detected. Daniel gritted his teeth, forcing the cables deeper into the alien core. Sparks exploded, the smell of burned metal filled the air. The lights dimmed, and for a heartbeat he feared he had destroyed everything. Then a sound came, soft but real. Her voice, not broken, not faint, but clear. Daniel. His name carried through the chamber like music, and he froze, his chest tight. He turned slowly, and her eyes blazed brighter than before. The machines pulsed in rhythm with her voice. She spoke again, stronger this time. Why do you fight for me?" The question cut deep, not because it doubted him, but because it carried true wonder. She had been abandoned by her own kind, betrayed and silenced. Yet here was a stranger, an alien to her, risking everything to bring her back. Daniel stared at her glowing eyes, his voice rough but steady. "Because no one deserves to be left behind, not you, not anyone." The words left him raw, but they were honest. The machines responded with a surge, light pouring through the chamber, wires snapping, broken panels reawakening. Her consciousness grew sharper, no longer a flicker but a flame. He could feel her presence now, not just in the chamber but inside his mind, brushing against his thoughts like warm waves. She whispered gently, as if testing his strength. "You feel pain. You are afraid. Yet you stay." Daniel clenched, his fists, sweat dripping down his neck. "I stay because you endured 2,000 years alone. I can endure this for you." For a moment, silence filled the chamber, and then her laughter, soft, weak, but real, echoed faintly through the failing speakers of the alien machines. It was the first sound of joy this ship had heard in centuries. Her voice came again, calm but heavy with meaning. "My people abandoned me because I was different. But you, human, you would fight for me without knowing me. Perhaps that is why I waited. Perhaps I waited for you." Daniel's chest tightened. Her words carried weight he could not yet understand. His AI screamed warnings again. Power instability, immediate shutdown advised. But he ignored it. He pressed forward. The machines began to merge with his AI. Streams of alien code intertwining with human algorithms, dangerous and unstable, but somehow forming a bridge between two worlds. Daniel gasped as his visor filled with new messages, not in symbols anymore, but in words he could read. Consciousness link stabilized. He staggered, catching himself against the wall, his head spinning, but through the dizziness he heard her voice, not through speakers, not through echoes, but directly in his mind, clear and soft. "Daniel, I can feel you." His eyes widened, his fear and awe mixing into one. She was inside his thoughts now, not as a ghost, but as a living mind pressing against his own. Two beings separated by species, time and death, now connected by a fragile link. Daniel whispered aloud, though he knew she heard him without sound. "You are not forgotten anymore," and her reply came like a gentle flame against the darkness. "Then I'm alive." The chamber glowed brighter, as if the rusted ship itself believed it, the machines roaring louder, the past and present colliding. Daniel realized this was no longer about scavenging a wreck. This was about giving back a stolen life. And deep in his heart, he knew the moment he spoke her name, whatever it was, her story would begin again, not as a ghost in the dark, but as something reborn through the will of a human who refused to leave her behind. The ship groaned louder with every passing hour, its ancient walls straining under the power Daniel forced through the broken veins of its machines. Sparks showered from panels, smoke curled in the corners, and the hum of failing engines echoed like a dying heartbeat. Daniel knew the wreck would not hold together much longer. If he didn't act now, the girl would fade forever. Her presence filled his mind more clearly now, no longer whispers but thoughts brushing against his own. Daniel, I cannot hold on like this. My body is dust. Her words trembled with sorrow, but her silver eyes glowed with quiet strength. She was ready to face the truth. But Daniel wasn't. He scanned the chamber, his flashlight cutting across rusted shelves of alien equipment. Then he saw it, a half-buried exosuit slumped against the wall, its design alien but humanoid, its armor cracked, its circuits weak. Yet its frame still pulsed with faint energy, a shell waiting for a soul. Daniel dragged it forward, his gloves scraping against cold metal, dust spilling across the floor. The suit's eyes glowed faintly blue before dimming, like it had been asleep for centuries. He knelt beside it, his mind racing. Maybe this can hold her. Maybe this can give her a body again. Her voice flowed gently into his mind, doubtful but hopeful. It is dangerous. If the transfer fails, I will scatter. I will be nothing. Daniel's jaw tightened, his chest heavy. If I do nothing, you fade anyway. I won't let that happen. He connected his AI to the exosuit, cables sparking violently as human and alien technology fought each other. Warnings flashed across his visor. Core overload. Transfer unstable. Probability of failure. High. Daniel ignored every alarm, his fingers flying over controls, patching code with instinct more than logic. The girl's glow flared. Her ruined body shuddered against the bed, light spilling from her fragile chest. She whispered in fear, "Daniel, I'm afraid." His hand pressed gently against the machine binding her. "I'll be with you the whole way, trust me." The ship roared, the floor trembling, dust falling from the ceiling, power surging like lightning through the chamber. The exosuit's chest opened with a hiss, its hollow core glowing faint blue. Daniel initiated the transfer, and the chamber erupted in light. Her consciousness screamed through his mind, not in words, but in raw energy. Waves of memory, pain, and hope surged into him. For a moment, he felt her life. Running through silver streets as a child, staring at alien skies, being dragged away by soldiers, screaming as the door sealed shut, the crushing silence of centuries. And then, him. Daniel nearly collapsed, his body shaking from the storm inside his skull, but he held on, forcing the link to stabilize. The exosuit blazed with light, circuits burning hot, its frame shuddering as if resisting her. He shouted through gritted teeth, "Take it! This is yours! Take it back!" The chamber exploded in a final surge, and then silence, thick and heavy. Daniel's ears rang. His visor blacked out, smoke filled the air. He coughed, stumbling to his feet. His eyes darted to the bed, empty, her ruined body gone. Then he turned and froze. The exosuit stood tall, its eyes glowing bright silver. Stronger than the faint blue it once held, the figure staggered one step forward, then another, metal groaning with each movement. The voice came, not broken, not weak, but alive, echoing through the chamber and his mind at once. "Daniel." The sound made his chest tighten. His eyes blurred with relief. The suit reached out, unsteady but real, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "I thought I would never see the stars again." Daniel stepped closer, his hand brushing the cold metal of her new arm, his voice shaking. "You will. I promise." And for the first time in 2,000 years, she stood again, reborn not as a ghost, not as a corpse, but as something alive, her soul burning inside a new shell, her story beginning again beside a human who refused to let her be forgotten. The old ship shuddered around them, its hull groaning as if it knew its time was almost over. Daniel steadied the alien exosuit as she took her first fragile steps. The sound of her heavy metal feet echoed across the chamber, each step a victory carved out of 2,000 years of silence. She looked down at her new hands, silver light flickering through the cracks in the armor. Her voice trembled, not with weakness now, but with wonder. "I can feel movement, strength. Daniel, I can feel the weight of the world again." He smiled faintly, his chest tight. You're alive, that's all that matters. The ship protested with violent tremors, panels falling from the ceiling, sparks raining like fire. Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. This place won't hold together, we have to go now. She followed, her steps clumsy but determined, the glow of her eyes cutting through the smoke. As they moved through the dying corridors, the ship seemed to resist. Doors slammed shut. Walls groaned. Sparks danced across the floor. It was as if the vessel itself did not want to let her go, as if it had grown jealous of her freedom. Daniel cursed under his breath, forcing each door open with his tools, dragging her forward, never letting go of her hand. Finally, they reached the docking bay where his small craft waited, its sleek human design glowing against the backdrop of rust and ruin. Daniel helped her inside, guiding her into the seat beside him. The exosuit groaned as it bent to fit, but she managed, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars outside. For the first time in centuries she saw them, the endless night sky sprinkled with galaxies, planets, suns burning in distant silence. Her voice broke with emotion. They are still here, the stars. After all this time, Daniel's hand tightened on the controls, his eyes flicking to her with a soft smile. The galaxy moved on without you, but now you're back. She turned her gaze to him, her silver eyes shimmering. My people, they are gone. My world is ash. I have nothing left. Daniel shook his head slowly, his voice firm. You have this moment. You have the stars, and you have me. That's enough for a beginning. Her armored hand reached for his, cold metal against warm flesh, yet the gesture carried more warmth than any fire. She whispered, Maybe I was not meant to survive them. Maybe I was meant to meet you. The engines roared, the ship tore free from the dying hulk, leaving the rusted tomb to crumble into silence once more. The two of them sat side by side, watching the vast galaxy open before them. But even in that quiet moment, Daniel's mind was not at peace. He knew the truth. If she lived again, if others discovered who she was, the galaxy would not stay silent. Ancient powers might awaken, enemies might rise, and questions would be asked that he could not answer. Still, as he looked at her glowing eyes filled with wonder, he whispered under his breath, Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Her voice answered, soft yet strong. Then I am not afraid. The stars stretched before them, endless and unbroken, and for the first time in 2,000 years, she was no longer trapped in darkness. She was free, reborn in the company of a human who refused to leave her behind, and together they sailed into a future no one could predict.